Hello, and welcome to a very special edition of the Morning Skate Podcast. I am Matt Moody. Once again, DJ has fled to Coop, going off to play hockey somewhere. And so, for such an important slate, we brought the boys back together. That's right, we have Mike Berg and Minnesota Matt here with us. Boys, how you doing? I'll start with Matt because I think Mike will have some stories for us. Matt, how you doing?
I'm good. I think I owe you credit for saving my my March here, because our last podcast got me thinking, and that's what I'm gonna focus on looking at today. Is like it's a whole new season after the break, the scheduling, all this stuff. Like you talked me into it essentially from the last podcast. I've thrown everything out that I had and like restarted from scratch and had a pretty good run here. I won the flagship on Thursday, and then I've come in the loser positions, third place twice in the high stakes, the 400, 500, whatever the hell it is each night. Changes on a whim, who knows why. So yeah, I owe you some credit here. I got kind of the bounce back. You gave me a good idea, so I'm feeling good, feeling like I'm on the pulse of something here. But we'll see. Then tomorrow it'll fall apart. But good March so far.
That is quite interesting. I've had a pretty shit couple of weeks here. So whatever you did, I certainly told you it in confidence, because I do not recall giving any good advice on any channel as of late. But Mike, apparently you just landed, raced home from Vegas, and you're like, honey, watch the kids. I got a show to do. So tell me, how was your weekend and how are you feeling on Monday evening?
Well, I'm glad one of us is feeling good, because I'm certainly not. Yeah, I actually almost fell asleep putting my son to bed right before the show. So I was a true game time decision. And it's kind of fitting that this is a post-trade deadline special, because I feel like one of these players who just gets shipped off has to hop on a plane last minute, might get in time for the game, might not. But I made it. I'm here. And my brain might be functioning at like 3/4 power. Actually, that'd be generous, like 1/4 power maybe. But I'm here either way.
I do love to hear that. So fellas, we're not going to bury the lead here. We've got 11 games on Tuesday, but most importantly, we have a $700,000 prize pool contest in the lobby. The 555 Barn Bash over on DraftKings has $200,000 to first. I counted my entries a little bit ago, and then I forgot the number. I think I'm at like 19 or 20 tickets. I don't think I'll add any more, in all honesty. But I mean, how are you feeling about this contest, Mike? Were you able to get some tickets before you went to Vegas, or you can't play you can't play DFS in Vegas? So, are you able to play this contest with tickets, or are you buying in, or what's up?
Yeah, I've got 4 entries right now. Maybe add a couple more. We'll see how things go. But yeah, as you said, wasn't able to play over the weekend. I actually kind of forgot what DFS was when I was out there. So this will be a nice refresher to jump in. And yeah, I mean, the contest looks good, and I think it'll be fun to hear, especially, Matt breaking down, some of his angles on this as well. So,
yeah, I mean, Matt, sounds like you're on a bit of a heater here. Not sure if you'll max it or not, but share what you will. But what is your strategy for Tuesday here?
Yeah, I have 21 tickets, but I'm gonna max it. I'm gonna just use the heater and just roll it into it, like whatever. Like and like you just got to, right? I just got to. So, I mean, do you want me to talk about lineup construction like super quickly? Because that's the only thing I actually provide that's valuable in this whole thing. Do you want me to talk about that now?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever you got for us.
Like the only thing that I probably provide that's actually valuable, like my player takes, whatever. Like you can figure out good plays. Maybe I have a couple in there, but so we got an 11 game slate. Here's the things I'll give you. If you're worried about your plays, your players, that's probably the wrong order. You should be worried about your lineup construction first. You got a 1,400 man contest, right? That's 1,400 people, right? I swear I looked at, I saw it.
Correct.
Yeah, you got a 1,400 man contest, so it's not your usual 10% and a 200 man. It's like 20 people might have that lineup, not that big of a deal. And then your combos are there. This legitimately, like the last large one, you actually saw lineups that were duped. Some people just jamming every piece of chalk they can find. So I would take a pause. If you have a ticket for a 1,400 man contest, like take a pause and actually think about like what you're going to do with it. If you have a couple tickets, do whatever you want. Like listen to us, play whatever you want. Doesn't matter. If you got 2 tickets, play for fun. Do what you want. I don't want to tell anyone that has 2 tickets to play a certain way. But if you're going to start like leveling up, if you're kind of getting into like mid-range 5 to 10 tickets, you should actually start thinking about ownership, because a 10% stack is going to be owned by 140 people. And suddenly the optimizers are going to chew apart every combo that fits with that. So I'm just going to give you that little warning. This is the one slate where I always yell about Heen and Hawn and donkey plays. This is where it actually matters. So just be a little careful about that. I think your 4-3-1s are where you get a little riskier. Like you can still play 4-3-1s. They're played 50-60% of the field plays them. It wins 50-60% of the time. So again, that's like your core foundation. But from there, you can toggle pieces in and out intelligently and do what you want. But just a reminder, just to think, little things to think about with that. And if as you go up, because I know a lot of people are going to be like you Matt or Moods. You're gonna have a lot of people in like 11 to 20ish range. Like I only got 21 too. So those ones you have to start thinking about, like, what is a maxer going to do? What's someone that's going to go look at their keyboard, smash their head, and then just, they're just going to run through all these combos. So if you're going to go start playing some chalk lineups, don't play 10% of your 20 lineups. Don't play 2 of it. You got to start like matching what a maxer does. So if they're going to play 4 versions of it and you're going to play 4, you start thinking about 4, 6, 8 versions of it, like get leverage on what they're doing if that's your favorite spot. So that's my one little preach. I'm like, think a little bit before the slate. I've had pretty good luck on these, but think about your construction and then worry about your play. So, ownership actually matters a little bit more, even though I yell about a lot, but this one, it actually matters. Some slates, not as much. Anyway, there's my spiel.
So you're not going to tell us what a maxer should do, because that's what you're going to do. You're going to head.
No, my note is literally half of them were sim opto smashers anyway, so I don't even care about half of what they do. But I'm not telling you what I'm doing. No.
Perfect. All right, we'll spend the next hour trying to flesh out exactly what Matt's going to do here in the lobby. And by the way, if people are tuning in and they're just kind of like, hey, these two guys seem pretty smart. I bet they've won maybe not won. I shouldn't say that. I bet they've done well on marquee slates the last little while. Yes, you are correct. I've actually written up both of these two gentlemen on the last 2 marquee slates that we have. The Buffalo night, we don't need to revisit the heartbreak there, but still qualified for the Fantasy Act World Championship. Mike did over on the newsletter. I profiled that, and also the last 888 contest in December, Matt won it. So I didn't do a full deep dive into say Matt's max entry portfolio or anything like that, but if you want to read a bit about the past marquee slates, you can do that over in my newsletter, moods.beehive.com. I will also be recapping Tuesday slate in the newsletter sometime on Wednesday. So that's going to be there. Also coming later this week is a Zamboni data deep dive. I finally figured out how to run a bunch of sims of the playoffs and actually build a useful set of lineups and whatnot, as far as figuring out what works in the best ball playoff streets on Underdog. So make sure you subscribe, moods.bf.com. Anyways, boys, I think it's time to dive into the plays that Matt says do not matter. So with all that said, let's start things off with, once I set this up properly. Oh my God, those pictures do not look good. Nope, I don't want you to, you know what, I'll figure this out. But Florida at Boston, Mike, any thoughts on this game here, or should I lead off with Matt, because I don't want Mike to be thrown into the deep end right away.
Me? Okay. I was going to let Mike talk.
Yeah.
In case you really wanted to. Okay. This one, I apparently missed 2 games that didn't have lines, but I did get this one. So this one, for the YouTube videos, you can kind of see it here. This one actually was a fascinating one. I think I saw the total was opening at a 5.5, or at least the early line. By the time it opens, or by the time it's tomorrow, it might be a little early, which seems a little low. I had a little higher pace on this one. Florida's been playing ever since Kachuk's been out. They've been playing actually incredibly crazy games. I finally watched 2 of their games recently. I was like, I love watching their penalty kill, because Barkov and Reinhardt are just ungodly good out there. They should have scored 3 shorties in some game recently. But it's actually the second line. When you look at the second line, they're the ones that since the break, they've had 7 games since the break. Evan Rodriguez leads the team in shots, which is an interesting one. And then Sam Bennett's right behind him. So you kind of got those, that floor stat with some shots. And those 2 produce a lot of expected goals, but they're not really talented finishers, I believe. I think they're both pretty bad or negative finishers. So they'll look pretty good from shot perspective, not really great from finishing, but at their prices, I'm strongly into that. Reinhardt, it's on your sheet even. Reinhardt's going to have a lot of expected fantasy points because he could not finish since the break here, but he got one last slate, I believe, or maybe 2 slates ago. But he's still like he's had like 3 or 4 individual expected goals, and he's only actually scored 1. So he's also a little like bursting at the seams here. So Florida has a little potential. Like if they can, if they get clicking, they could really. I really like them as a kind of. I know it's a tough matchup, and they're tough matchup historically into Boston, but the way this Boston team's gone here at the break here, and just kind of selling off a little bit, not that worried about it. Kind of like I lean into Florida quite a bit here.
Yeah, I pulled up on the screen the full 11 game slate of matchups. Boston's been playing pretty decent defensively as of late. I mean, they put the clamp on Tampa over the weekend, so that game is holding a lot of weight here. Like they actually played really strong game. Swayman's also come back to life, so I'm a little worried about it. Obviously, Florida's been super good, and there's not too many outstanding spots on the slate. For the audio listeners, the rainbow sheet on Tuesday evening looks like it's going to be in on Vegas against Pittsburgh, Carolina against Tampa, interestingly, Winnipeg against the Rangers, LA against the Islanders, Nashville against San Jose, and a handful of other teams sort of in a bucket with Florida just underneath that group. So right away, I am fairly interested if the low prices on Florida draw people in and sort of make this an outsized ownership type of stack, like you're saying, Matt, with a 10% owned stack on a 200 person contest. Yeah, maybe moods shouldn't just be fading it in order to be contrarian, but in a much larger contest, maybe Florida will be owned with every single possible line combination because of their prices. Sam Miscavige at 4,100 seems like to remain on the top power play. Sam Bennett has been doing everything. It's only 56, so that right there is something. Finally, Seth Jones steps into power play 1. Aaron Ekblad caught juicing or something, suspended for 20 games. So he's done. His regular season is over. A huge vacuum of minutes to step into, obviously. So, Mike, anything you want to add on the Florida matchup here? And did I just break news to you about Aaron Ekblad being suspended?
No, actually, I did catch that. And what an apology, by the way. That was amazing. Just great stuff. Just transparent, honest, everything you want to see there. No, it is funny, though, because I actually didn't notice the Marchand trade until coming back into town, which is wild. And then I actually thought he was going to be playing. I don't know why.
Yeah, there's no confirmation that he's not playing, but also it's weird because he's talking like, oh, he's going to be with the team and whatnot, but he hasn't practiced yet. And I mean, the way the draft picks are working, I don't know. I'd be very surprised if he played. I don't know how he gets his, standing ovation goodbye or whatever from the press box, but maybe they'll do something pregame or something. Because this is very strange that basically, Tuesday after the trade deadline, hey, Marchand returns, but I don't think he's able to play injury wise. So anyway, keep an eye out for that. You're completely right. That could switch things up pretty dramatically.
Yeah, do we think he jumps into that second line with Bennett? Or?
Gosh, I would think so. But again, they've been pretty good. So maybe he just goes in where Boqvist is on the third line and sort of gets a little easier introduction. So yeah, I don't know if it's worth too much time pontificating on. I don't think he gets a power play 1 job right away. Not even Carter Verhaeghe can get power play 1 job. So is Marchand going to get it? I don't think so. But anyway, was there anything else you wanted to add here?
No, I think you guys, it was all well said. I'm not seeing the pace numbers fully in the game overall, but of course, Florida, it jumps off the sheet from that standpoint. But I think everything else was pretty well said with both of you guys, so we can move on.
All right. Nate Schmidt picks up probable second power play minutes, 2,500, the dead minimum. Again, the vacuum of minutes to be filled. He could slide up. Whoever slides up alongside Forsling, I think, is an outstanding play. Balinskis, I'm pretty sure, is the 7th man right now defensively. So I'm guessing he goes to the 3rd pair, but maybe they like Schmidt, Kulikov. I have no idea. So just keep an eye on it because there will be a vacuum to fill on the Florida side. For Boston, I don't think I'm breaking any news. This team is basically David Pastrnak and nothing. Lindholm's been a bit better as of late, but he's not even on the top power play. They traded for a whole bunch of new people. Casey Middlestat's on their top power play, but that only helps Pasta, I think. He's not going to take shots himself. And I don't really see anything punt-wise or value-wise that makes me interested. So either one of you fellas want anything to do with this Boston team at home?
I got one. I got one note, and actually, I should have shouted him out last time. The Wookiee sheets. If you check his sheets, he tracks kind of like D funnels, so to say, or that's what I term it as. And Florida all year has allowed a lot of chances to the opposing team's defenders, which usually is a sign of a good defensive team. Lock it down and push pucks to the blue line, right? So that's the only thing. Like if you love Florida, you could consider bringing back like a Mason Lowry or something, but that's about it. Like everything else he said, I'm pretty much on board with, though. Nothing else interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think we were talking extensively about Geeky on our last show. Same with Lowry, which is funny to think about now. But I mean, it doesn't even seem like Geeky's popping like he was in the past. Not that you play him in this matchup anyway. So nothing on the Boston side for me.
Yeah, it's primarily a matchup thing for me. Like it's just, if you're trying to spend $14K for a twosome, getting guys who don't project to get, the Florida Panthers, I don't know. We'll come back on Pasta's price, I think. Just see sort of where it fits in on the rest of the slate. Because, obviously David Pastrnak low owned is always an option. And it's not the end of the world price wise because Florida's without Ekblad. Like I could see a path to getting there. But I want to see the other 10 games before I really, come to any firm conclusions there. So next up.
Yeah, I'll say one more thing. And Pastrnak, we haven't really seen anyone pushing like 5 shots per game in like 10 game samples this year at all. But since the break, you're starting to see it, and Pasternak's one of those guys doing it. So I know I'm going to click him on if he's coming in those 5%, I'll do it. But if I stack around him or what I bring out, I don't know. Is it just a one-off? I'm not sure. But I know I'm going to click him in because he's going to come in less than 10% in this matchup. Yeah. So anyway.
All right. Next game up, we have Columbus at New Jersey. New Jersey at Columbus, right? Or did I screw that up?
It's New Jersey at Columbus. Wait.
Columbus at New Jersey. Okay, so I have this right on the sheet. Anyway, right. Columbus heads into New Jersey. The matchup pretty much straight down the middle, maybe of interest. The pace, the Corsi, the shot attempts for New Jersey a good bit better than Columbus. But Columbus, fresh off of a 7-3 pacing of the Rangers, Adam Fantilli recorded a hat trick. Fellas, are we looking at a Columbus donkey yeehaw stack or because Fantilli is just a real deal. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's proven it every step of the way ever since Sean Monahan went down. So, any interest in Columbus against a really banged up New Jersey side?
I got a couple other notes on you on this one. So another team that's been really good at funneling shots to the point is New Jersey. So of course you're gonna get Werenski season here. He's got to be on top of your mind. I would argue you build around him if you do it, and then you probably go Fantilli, Marchenko, and Voronkov's the one you're gonna start leaving off. Like he had for a while there, he had some really good shot splits, but he's down to he's not shooting as much. He's not really producing anything. I mean, yes, but I'm worried this gets a little look at their prices. It's going to get a little owned again. Like if it gets a little owned, not as interested. Just depends on where they fall on the ownership scale on this one. I do want to play them, but how much? We'll see how it kind of checks out.
Yes, Voronkov, Fantilli, Marchenko, 17.7K. The second line, Matthew Olivier alongside Boone Jenner and Kent Johnson. That's going to run 13K. So, that top line is not that much more and certainly a better option. I think we talked about Chinikov last week on the pod. He's back, but not on the top power play or anything. So, now that he's not even on the second line, I think he's just sort of an ignore. But of interest if he ever slides up back into the top 6 here at just 4K. Otherwise, Zach Werenski, 7,600 is pretty much all we have to worry about otherwise. So my personal take is that Fantilli is honestly one-offable. I would be surprised if ownership got there. On the road in New Jersey, I don't think they're going to be favorites here or even all that close to it. And also, I'm guessing the game will be a 5.5 total. So I don't think we see much steam on Fantilli and friends, even though he's coming off that hat trick. And at some point, I feel like I just got to say, hey, I was saying this guy could be Jack Eichel, and he's 6,000 against a New Jersey team that is rolling out some of my favorite players, but all their new acquisitions are either bad or offensively oriented. So like, I feel like this game could be an over target for one, and two, like the pricing in this game, I think is really strong. So, Mike, any thoughts on Columbus before we head over to New Jersey?
So I'm seeing it looks like it opened at a 6.5 actually, and it's down to 6.
Okay.
So well, that's kind of interesting there. Because I'm with you. I think I would have expected a 5.5. Really quickly, no, I don't have interest on the Columbus. They do pop on my sheets a little bit here. And of course everything that's happened injury wise with New Jersey, but generally I'm not trying to stack against a Heischer line in New Jersey. So that would be the first reason. I think it is possible it does get some ownership as well, which would just drive me off it even more. So,
all right, on the New Jersey front, obviously no Jack Hughes for the remainder of the full season. Dougie Hamilton seems like he's gonna miss the remainder of the regular season. We'll see though his actual status. And Jonas Siegenthaler is going to be out for the rest of the regular season as well, if not the entire postseason as well. So we've got a lot of new faces here. One, Brian Dumoulin on defense in the top 4 alongside Kovacevic. My guess is they're going to try and use that as a shutdown pairing. Hughes and Pesci sort of as the Dougie replacement pairing. And then Brendan Dillon and Dennis Cholowski just didn't play much over the weekend in a win against Philly. So, Cholowski is just your prototypical Scott Prunovich type where he's there to run a power play too. And not much else. So maybe we see like a Dylan Kovacevic pairing actually get some defensive run. I'm not sure. But all that to say, this defense is really banged up. Luke Hughes, it's tough to get his rates to a point where you're like, yeah, this guy's like a must play at 4,200, but he kind of feels like a juiced version of Mason Lohrei, who like we've talked about. I'm sure we've played the three of us collectively in DFS, and like Luke Hughes could be a phenom. He could be a superstar in 3-4 years time. So this seems like a really interesting spot on the defensive side. Up front, Timo, Heischer, Nason should all be power play 1 correlated. I'll need to recheck last game to make sure we saw something. And then Mercer steps into the Hughes role between Palat and Jesper Bratt. The third line, Cody Glass, Eric Howla, Daniel Sprong. I mean, Jesus Christ. If there was a line, Cody Glass and Daniel Sprong in 2019, like I would have been jumping through window panes to get my hands on that line. But, it's just all that to say, this top 6 is going to get a ton of work here. The Timo line is 17.3K. My sense is that this line gets a ton of steam relative to the Columbus side. That's sort of where my initial thoughts are. And I think I prefer the Columbus side, honestly. Call me crazy, but Matt, what do you have on New Jersey here?
I'm with you. I actually think New Jersey could get to one of the chalkiest stacks. I think it not even could. I think it will get to one of the chalkiest stacks. Where it falls in that doesn't matter. It'll be over 10% owned. There's just no way at those prices. They're home. They're a slightly favored. I did see it. They have a 6. It does have a 6 total, but you're just going to see lots of ownership go on. So this one I'd be careful with using them intelligently. Since the break, Timo's looked there, and especially with the injuries, Timo's looked great. I mean, he's shooting a bunch, not scoring, but it'll again once it comes, it comes. So I think he's the biggest beneficiary we've seen so far. The rest is thank God with these new lines though, because I just despise Jesper Bratt. I can't click him in. I don't know what he does. So if the lines actually come out tomorrow, this is what they practice with. I like this much better. Though Nason's also kind of, at least Nason's a cheaper version of just go knock a puck in the net, right? Like I can handle that. Bratt, I just don't know what he does. And your Luke Hughes thing, I want to like him. He skates so well. You watch him, you're like, oh wow, this guy's really good. And then just the fantasy points are just not there. Is it a role thing? Is it age? I don't know.
He doesn't block shots, but it's very interesting. I mean, even this all, by the way, if you're looking at the YouTube, I have on my sheet the NHL index stats, where I basically just take stats and index them to 1, meaning like 1 is league average. And I also do it to like an age range. So like I kind of just want to see, oh, is this prospect prospecting? You know, I don't want to compare him to, prime McDavid or whatever. Like it's just sort of, hey, how are you doing against your age cohort? Pretty wide ranges. I think it's 3 years or something like that. So nothing too crazy. Anyway, you look at Luke Hughes and it's DK points per 60, shot attempts per 60, and primary points per 60. Luke Hughes is awesome at shot attempts and primary points per 60, especially when you look at last season included as well. And then the DK points are just substantially worse. So that's one indicative of, actual block shots, because those are such a huge part of defender scoring. But two, like, he's just not getting pucks on goal, which Dougie's, main weapon is his shot and getting shots through traffic. So it is sort of a leap of faith I think you need to take. There's not a ton that's going to say, yep, Luke Hughes has been doing it. But I think we get bailed out by the price. He's not 3,500. He's 42. So at least he makes you think he's in that Seth Jones range. I'm sure we'll get to a handful of other guys too that are actual power play 1 options that are somewhat close in price. So I'll be certainly keeping an eye out for a bona fide power play 1. The most recent one we have from 2 games ago, their 6-1 loss, has Dawson Mercer on the unit instead of Nason. Philly, they didn't get a power play until a few minutes to go, so there was 2 defensemen on it. So if we don't have confirmation that Nason's on the power play 1, just keep that in mind. It could be Dawson Mercer. I would only be interested in Nason, though. Mercer's just not really anything, and he's 4,500. So, Mike, anything else you want to add to this game?
Yeah, that's really sad about Mercer. But yeah, I also just did notice that too. So definitely confirm on that power play. You guys both actually kind of confirmed my fears about this game. First of all, that New Jersey would be getting that ownership, and I tend to agree as well. And also, I think that Keyshawn line will get some run with Hughes, but I think you're right. It's going to be mainly them paired with the Dumoulin pairing. That line with that Dumoulin pairing as a shutdown role. So I'm not sure. Besides that power play and how many power plays they're going to get in a matchup like this, how much correlation there actually will exist with that stack and Hughes. So
a lot of uncertainty here, I think. And so, when ownership is coming in strong, I'm sort of inclined to fade uncertainty. But Mike in the chat, Hughes family seems to be injured a lot. So watch out, Luke Hughes. You're the final bastion of hope here. And by the way, I don't know, you guys aren't admins. Can you see the comments as they come in, or do I have to share them?
Probably when you flash it up, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've gone here.
Okay, so Ben says game time decision plays. Mike showing up for the people. That's right. We announced Mike as a game time decision, but he came through for us. This is not the NBA. He was not missing this one. And then we have a couple of Jofa comments about your hat. So Mark, nice Jofa hat, and Jacob JFC in Discord. What's a Jofa? So a little bit of history here for you.
Yeah, I think my first helmet was a Jofa helmet, if I remember right. Yeah, but I mean they're just beautiful helmets. If you don't know, I'm trying to think like the Yari Curry or some. I think Messier wore a Jofa helmet for a long time. So if you get a chance, just look it up. They're beautiful buckets. I don't even know if you can find any anymore, but I just love the hat. So thanks for noticing.
Yeah. No, Mark, unfortunately, Live Barn did not give us the streaming rights to DJ's Beer League. But I think he's actually off the ice by now anyway. He had an 8-15 game. So hopefully he doesn't come storming in here with his unowned. What can we claim is going to be unowned on this slate?
He probably was saying New Jersey's unowned.
yeah, precisely.
Kucherov, no one's going to click him in. He always gets 10%.
All right. We're making great pace here. We're at 30 minutes and on the third game of the slate. Ottawa at Philadelphia. I was legitimately shocked to look in on Ottawa's game on Monday night and see that they allowed 27 shots in the second period to Detroit. They're currently being outshot 43-22. So the rainbow chart is going to change for this one, but they apparently limp on into Philly. By the way, they're tied because hockey. They head into Philly on a back-to-back. looking like Perron, Stützle, Giroux, Perron, Cousins, Batherson. The power play 1, Dylan Cousins takes the place of Claude Giroux, so it's what the fuck? That's not David Perron. That's Brady Tkachuk. Tkachuk, Stützle, Giroux, Perron, Cousins, Batherson. There we go. And obviously Brady, Stu, Batherson, Sanderson with Cousins on the power play 1. I personally can't say I have much interest in a back-to-back Ottawa team going up against my boys in Philly. I mean, again, going to need to rerun the rainbow chart after tonight to see how bad the damage is. But the matchup doesn't stand out to begin with. This pricing seems kind of crazy. $21K for Ottawa 1, $15K for Ottawa 2. That includes a $4,400 David Perron. Like, I'm inclined to just say no thank you to this entire Ottawa side. But Matt, how are we feeling about Ottawa?
I mean, I'm kind of with you. I'm gonna play them because you can't 21,000 for the turf stack. Why would you do that? They're not even. What's their implied total even gonna be? It's not gonna be that high, right? Especially, yeah, it's not even gonna be that good. They're just not. Only this is an ownership play, not because it's a good play. That's how. That's all. That's the analysis you need. Ownership play, not necessarily a good play. I mean, Brady's price is pretty fair. He's been shooting quite a bit since the break there, but even Stützle's been shooting. And Chabot's been donkey flinging, and Sanderson too. But it's just like there's not a lot there for me. How about that?
Yeah, Stu's been looking a bit better, like you said, after the break. But the price tag it's accounted for and more at 7,300. He's not a shooter. He's at like 4.3 shot attempts per game, which for him is pretty good. But it's not going to move the needle for DFS. You're going to need them to get 3 points for Stu to get there. Mike, I'll start with you on the Flyers side, unless you had anything on Ottawa. I will just say I'm not sure what the lines are going to be for Philly, so I just left them alone. Michkov has been awesome. I know people are going to come and like Mike here in the chat, oh, Torts may sit you if you aren't careful. Guess what? Michkov completely fucked up on the first goal they scored. He sat for like 7 minutes and then came back in the second and played the rest of the game. So, like, whatever. Yeah, you're going to fuck up and, like, Torts is going to Torts. It is undeniable that whatever he's done has worked. I mean, Michkov has been unbelievable. Like, not just from from a fantasy standpoint, but from a hockey standpoint. Like, I mean, his game is transformed. He just looks so confident out there now. And yeah, I mean, he could play 11 minutes in this spot, but my God, I'm in love with the game he's playing. The shooting has been there now. Like, it's all coming together for Mr. Michkov. So, Mike, any thoughts on the Flyers here? And look into your crystal ball. What will the lines be on Tuesday?
I'm not going to touch that. But I think one thing that you've been a champion of most of this year is just how the relationship between Torts and Michkov has been, compared to other situations with younger players. It does genuinely seem like those two have like a bond together, I guess, as much as you can have with Tortorella. But I mean, I don't think it's the same thing. I think, you're going to get that from time to time, the teaching lesson, sitting him for a half period or whatever. But I wouldn't bank on that something like in the other bucket of Torts being, Torts going to Torts type of stuff. So I agree with that. Couturier getting more power play time, I think, would be a good bet as well. So I do have general interest in that line. Not going to guess, so I guess that kind of gets to the original question is, what are the lines going to be? So I guess we'll see. I mean, if they keep, I would lean towards them keeping that Couturier, Tippett, Michkov line together, but your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah, Matt, any thoughts on the Flyers here, just in general, how you would play them, regardless of whether we know the lines or not?
I mean, Michkov's finally at a better price, but even arguably for his recent run, a little too cheap. So you like even just one-offing him is fine if the lines are a disaster. Don't mind it. Risto's finally 4,500. It seems like they mark every power play one defender over 4,000. For whatever reason, he just dragged along. So you're gonna get. I think the only thing I've seen is you've seen a lot of these top power play, okay-ish, questionable, questionable rates guys. I mean, actually, Risto's been pretty good because he's blocking shots. You're going to see lots of them, the Hughes, who was for Lowry, the Risto. So if there's like this big ownership suck into these like $4,000 power play one guys, I would start leaning like look below them or start paying up a little bit to get a little different, because you're going to see a lot of people like fall into these guys. Is my only like warning on this one, because that's about all I see on this one is mostly that. I don't nothing else crazy.
Yeah, the trades, the Lawton trade in particular, but also Kuzmenko, coming and going pretty quickly, just open up a ton of power play run for guys like Sean Couturier. And even though Couturier is at 4,200, I am fairly interested in him. I mean, we have a sizable sample now of him plus Michkov, and again, like probably he's going to stay on that line. Could it change? Certainly. But let's see. I just ran it on HockeyViz. We have 336 minutes of Couturier plus Michkov on the Philadelphia Flyers, and they are a well above average 5-on-5 offense, and they've outscored their production. So, this is 26% better than league average in 336 minutes, and they've scored 20 goals on 17.2 expecteds, and they're holding their own defensively. I mean, the Philadelphia Flyers are outscoring teams at 5-on-5 with this duo on the ice, given even how bad their goaltending is. So, Tippett certainly I don't think hurts that whatsoever. I'm fairly interested in paying up to be a bit contrarian here against a apparently limping Ottawa squad. Like, I just think Ottawa kind of sucks. Ottawa feels like Philly in that, like, their goaltending can just blow up at any moment, and if so, like, watch out. So 16.5K. I hope it comes in unowned. If it's decently owned, I'll probably just stay away. But I think the Flyers are an interesting target here. Let's head over though to the next spot, Vegas, heading into Pittsburgh. I believe this will be another just chalk fiesta. Vegas has been scoring a ton as of late. They scored 5 against the Kings in a loss somehow. And their underlyings look stellar as well. And Pittsburgh has done nothing to quell concerns other than calling up Tristan Jarry, who apparently was the answer all along in net. He held Minnesota to just 1 goal, which arguable whether that was Tristan Jarry's doing or not. But the matchup looks fairly good for Vegas. Actually looks like the best on the slate via the expected goals rainbow chart. And the lines got clustered a little bit in that LA game, but Eichel Stone will be together. Hurdle, Dorofeev, and Saad should stay together. It's just a matter of whether it's Tanner Pearson or Victor Olofsson or even Riley Smith alongside Eichel and Stone. Could be Barbashev as well, which I currently have listed. All of those guys feel a little bit expensive. Maybe Olofsson would be an option. But in general, I think the approach would be power play 1 stacking on Vegas. So that would be Eichel, Stone, Dorofeev, Hurdle, and Noah Hannafin. Matt, any thoughts on Vegas heading into Pittsburgh?
I mean, if Tanner Pearson is top line and chalk, I'm just going to scream, because he has cost me an ungodly sum of money the last 2 slates because the system just keeps jamming him in there. Now he's 4,000. He won't do it. He won't touch him again. Jamming in there. Actually, I think someone that lurks in MSP won. One of the nights I came in third won with Pearson. I was having a little fit in the MSP chat about it, but I fucking hate Tanner Pearson is all I got to say. But he actually if he's playing next to Eichel and Stone again, I know you have Barbashev on here, but like he's going to get owned. Yeah, you can play him, but their shot volumes are I think you're on the other side. The Corsi indexes are a little low. They've just been scoring everything because they got Ned or whoever they were playing against that 4-0 game. They produced not that. No, maybe they did okay in that game. Their expected goals look good, but their shot volumes are low, which makes them point dependent.
Mm-hmm.
And it is Pittsburgh. I don't know what to do with Vegas. All I got to say, they're leading shot since the break. They're leading. Who's leading the shots? Dorofeev, right? Dorofeev.
I say Fiev, but it could be.
I heard Feyev, but Fiev's how it's spelled, so I'll go with that. Is actually leading them in the break since but it's only a little over 3 shots per game. No one's that standout build around piece, which makes it interesting. So if the field flocks to it and is just building power play stacks and random Eichel, Stone, and they'll jam some other crap with it, I'm not very interested. Is kind of where I'm getting at. But again, maybe they wake up and shoot 40 times. I don't know. But I always get concerned with that backbone stat isn't there. If they're not hitting the net, where their points going to come from? They're just going to get a little lucky. Is my thought.
Yeah, Noah Hannafin continues to produce. He's now 5,700 in Shea Theodore's absence, but I mean, what can I say? I basically 3 weeks ago looked at it and said, well, Theodore's out and Hannafin, I feel like he's been terrible, but then I look at it and he's above average and, points and shot attempts and DK points per 60 this year. And what do you know? He's come out and been pretty decent. He's been a bit priced up now, so not a ton of value there or anything. But Mike, thoughts on Vegas Power Play 1? Is that just easy? Is there anything else on this team you're interested in?
I mean, I'm sort of in a similar position. I just don't know what to do with this yet. I mean, the 6.5 total, they're big look good on the sheets. Probably gonna get the ownership. I'm leaning towards, especially with just a handful of entries, just completely Xing them out. That'd probably be my most likely way to go with this.
All right. On the Pittsburgh side of things, we have Rust, Crosby, Raquel, Tommy Novak, Evgeny Malkin, Phil Tomasino. Thank you, Barry Trotz. And Hemstrom, Hayes, Connor Dewar, and Boko and Mama, Blake Lizotte, and Nola Chari. Yes, DJ would have a field day with this lineup. I don't think there's anything here. Kevin Hayes at 3,200 is mildly interesting. He's been shooting a decent amount. He's just getting literally nothing to show for it. Kind of feels like the story of Erik Karlsson's career or season, at least, where it's like, oh, he's on the ice with Erik Karlsson on the power play and he's getting a bunch of opportunities, but because he's Kevin Hayes, he's not actually scoring. So like that to me feels like the explanation, but maybe it changes. And at 3,200, you could find out via the power play 1. But anyone want to shout anything they see on the Pittsburgh side? Because I don't think I can play Tommy Novak, in all honesty, even though I want to click on Malkin Tomasino. It's just, I don't think it's necessary.
I don't think you're going to have that choice maybe anyways. I think you left the game in the third period last game. I don't know if there's an update since then.
Oh, he was marked day to day. I saw that. I was going to ask about it. I didn't look, though. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, he left the game.
Check on him. Yeah, it's a good call.
Okay, yeah. Well, yes, that is true. He did not return. Okay. You know what? I did see that actually, and now it's coming back.
While you're clicking it in, only thing I got is Hayes has produced like over 3 expected goals and has scored absolutely nothing, but that also might just be because he's Kevin Hayes at this age and this place in this team. Yep. But technically he's due, I guess, and he's cheap. So if you need a cheap center, you could punt worse. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. If I play Kevin Hayes, I think I'm doing it with Erik Karlsson, in all honesty. That'll just be my excuse to just play Erik Karlsson because, again, I feel like Hayes' opportunities are because Erik Karlsson's dancing 5 guys with the blue line is like, hey, someone please score. And Kevin Hayes is like, I got it. And then he doesn't because he's Kevin Hayes. So, keep an eye out for who replaces Novak on that second line. If it's Emil Bemstrom, you're not going to see me for a while after this Tuesday slate because I will just be giga jamming a 10.4K Pittsburgh 2 and getting absolutely nothing to show for it. So I mean, Bemstrom's a guy who's been around for a while. He's every time he plays in the AHL, he's like the classic quad A guy. He's just too good for the AHL, but he's not good enough for the NHL. So fortunately, Pittsburgh's hardly an NHL team, so here he is. But that's something I'll keep an eye on. Anyway, I think we can move on to Tampa and Carolina. Tampa not looking like the best of matchups because, of course, Carolina is a very good team. Worth noting, Carolina's expected goals against is actually below average at the moment. Now, most of the league is below average at this moment because the schedule is an absolute clusterfuck. It's just teams playing, 5 games and 8 nights here, there, and everywhere. So I think that has something to do with this. But Tampa also gifts us a $2,500 power play 1, line 2, Oliver Bjorkstrand. So the matchup is the worst possible matchup, but maybe better than expected. And Bjorkstrand's going to project incredibly for 2,500. So how do we feel about Tampa in this spot, Mike? What is your vibes-based inclination on Bjorkstrand here?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, I mean, he's going to project well. I'm sure he's going to get played. I don't see a huge issue with it. I mean, yeah, that's basically it. Vibes, neutral, but
That's hungover Mike talking now. He just gave up on that one.
we're running out of steam here. No, Matt, your thoughts?
Where's he lining up on the power play? I can ask Moods this because he actually knows. I saw a tweet and then I forgot because wasn't point wasn't point in a different spot. I didn't pay attention because they were on the slate. I just skimmed it.
I believe he was lining up in the Stamkos spot. But I will see if I can dig that up.
I think you're right. I think that's what I saw. Okay, well.
Yes, Bjorkstrand was skating on the left side of the top.
That makes sense. That's what they should do if they're going to do it. So okay. All right. I mean, I got nothing. The only thing I got on this since I started talking here is, I have the pace higher than what I saw the opening line was hinting at, but it's always tricky with Carolina on the slate, especially Carolina at home a little bit because they'll send the stall line at whatever they want. Though actually against Tampa, they won't send stall at the Kucherov as much, will they? They'll probably send Aho out.
Sorelli probably.
Yeah. Or and Stahl and we'll go chase Sorelli around. They'll just all skate to 0 fantasy points for a while. So it's a little interesting. I think it's a little higher pace than I think Vegas is projecting, and then you get a cheap piece in Bjorkstrand. So it's interesting. It's a tough matchup. It's an ownership one. I'll see where ownership is, and that'll determine how I feel about these teams.
Yeah. So it should be the stall line on Kucherov, like you said.
I think so. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, they dealt with Winnipeg 1 in that way this weekend. So, I mean, that
I saw sometimes the Aho line takes the top lines for half the game too. I think that was earlier in the year, and for whatever reason, maybe since they put Jarvis and/or Svechnikov there, they've done that more. But over the weekend, most recently we have a pretty solid hard match from Stahl on Scheifele, so I feel like that's going to be what they do here. That leaves the Aho line to deal with Sorelli, Hagel, Bjorkstrand. It's not like we need reasons to click Bjorkstrand. It's Kucherov's running mate on the power play. Like 2,500, I would play me there for 2,500. We played Mitchell Chaffee there, which is basically me on the power play there.
Yeah.
Nothing else is all that interesting to me. But on the Carolina side, a point of interest is that Andrei Svechnikov missed practice today. The quotes sounded kind of dire, like they weren't sure what was wrong with him, basically. So Aho played alongside Taylor Hall and Jackson Blake, which, again, we're sort of looking for reasons to play Bjorkstrand, which you don't need. But if that Aho line is chasing around Sorelli, Hagel, and Bjorkstrand, Jackson Blake and Taylor Hall aren't doing it for me defensively. This is not Andrei Svechnikov level or Seth Jarvis level of competency, let alone both of them. This is, again, Taylor Hall and a rookie. So that's kind of interesting. Tyson Jost skated alongside Kotkaniemi and Logan Stankoven. So if Svechnikov plays, I'm guessing that's where he would draw in. But my sense is that Carolina is going to be an absolute mess until maybe a couple weeks ago in the regular season as they try to figure out what's the best thing for them to do post Nachos and post Rantanen. But yeah, we're dealing with a lot of nonsense here on the Carolina side. We also don't know about Dmitry Orlov's status. We're suspecting him to miss. Scott Morrow has stepped into the lineup and been pretty decent as a minimum salary punt. And if the entire field is going to be yep, Bjorkstrand, Gobert, I mean, at some point, it does feel like Carolina just offers some sort of game stack to that. Because I don't think you're playing Carolina and expecting Tampa to not get there with Bjorkstrand's price. But there's a lot of cheap options to work with, I think. So, Matt, any interest in Carolina?
I didn't see these lines, to be perfectly honest, but I watched all of their last game. Something was wrong. Something's wrong with Svechnikov. I watched 2 or 3 Carolina games recently. Something's wrong with the dude. I actually believe he's hurt. He just doesn't look good. He doesn't look like a hockey player out there. He's like, I don't know what he's doing. So whatever it is, take a break, buddy. You just look bad. But they were trying to set up or Stankoven run around or kind of looks pretty decent on the power play. Their first 4 minutes power play was horrible, but then they kind of picked it up and he was redirecting a bunch of things around the net. So a little interesting there. 4,700 though. I think DraftKings bumped his price a little bit, which was right. So you could say if he's going to be isolated on the second line, you could consider one-offing him. I was going to say the Hall and Blake have who are they with? Kotka Niemi? Yeah, they were. That line actually was like producing some expected goals, but not actually scoring. I think they have like 1 goal on 6 expected goals the last 7 or 8 since the break. So they actually looked pretty good at a price, but yeah, with Aho, I don't know if it's going to help them break out of their funk because Hall and Blake have been shooting a little bit, which is kind of weird to say for Hall a little bit. But they're just not doing much. It just kind of shows on your sheet like some expected fantasy points, but I don't know what you can do with this. That's I don't know what to do. So it's a tough one.
It feels too cheap, but it also just feels like
it's probably right.
It's Carolina for one, and two, like even it's more Carolina-y than most Carolina stuff because like Shane Gostisbehere is in a larger role. Like it's 4,700 fair, probably not, but like
there's another power play 1 defender in that weird 4,000 range again. Like just
exactly
those guys. Yeah, I don't know.
Yep. Mike, anything to add to the Carolina discussion here?
I hate these lines so much. I think your point is really good, though, that using Carolina as a bring back instead of maybe a primary, like, going at a stack in that game makes a lot of sense to me just based off of the scrambling you probably see with lines if some of those Tampa pieces are coming through for you and just the chasing that Carolina is going to be doing. I generally don't play anything but like the Aho line when Carolina is at home just because you're going to have the Stahl line get a lot of those minutes. Then Aho is going to get his minutes, of course, and then that 3rd and 4th line seems to not get very much in there. I know against Winnipeg there was a ton of power play time in there, so that really got scrambled up, and it's not going to be very indicative of what just like a normal 5-on-5 game would look like. So I think where I would just leave it is what you said, is that maybe a Bjorkstrand, Kucherov, and then maybe bringing back with the Carolina piece in there. I think that would probably make the most sense to me if I was going to play anything in this side.
I think the only thing we missed was Jarvis also has actually looked really good. And one of his 2 goals since the break was, I think, an empty netter. So I don't think but he's actually been producing quite a bit. The sheet even gives it away. I think that was the only guy I missed. Like you could one off him too, but his price is high. We'll put it. It's probably a little too high, but he won't be owned either. So that's your give and take.
And if he's with Stahl and Martinuk, I mean, for all they're good offensively, Gensel, Point, Kucherov do give it up the other way. So, it could be something there for sure. All right, Colorado at Minnesota. Colorado currently tied 0-0 with Chicago halfway through the game. So congratulations to the Colorado Donkeys on their four goal explosion in the 3rd period upcoming here. But then they hit the road heading all the way to Minnesota in this one. I'm very curious on what the field does with this because, I mean, Colorado's gotten a ton of attention, and rightly so. They've been awesome across the board. They put up a gazillion goals and shots against the Leafs over the weekend and just sort of put the stamp down on like why they might be the favorites out west. But so assuming that what happens Monday 6, we're looking at Lehkonen on line 1 power play 2 with McKinnon and Nachos both on the power play 1, and then Druin with Brock Nelson and Val Nichushkin, both Brock Nelson and Nichushkin on the power play 1 with Cale Makar. So Big Val and Brock Nelson on the power play there. Maybe that second line is, I don't know if they're going to be sneakier, but maybe they're just a way to be different. If you want to fade McKinnon for whatever reason, you just say Brock Nelson gets the job done. I think it's unquestionable that Big Val is a fantastic value here at just 5,600. Brock is 7K, McKinnon 92, and Nachos 69. Very nice. And then Cale Makar 8K. So like Big Val feels like he'll be pretty popular as both a one-off and as a stacking piece. But I do question whether, Brock Nelson's of interest. Is Ross Colton on an actual team that can function 3,300, shooting a bit more? Like this is a guy prototypical like shop generator. Yeah, he's on the second power play, but now he's with guys who can actually play hockey in Coyle and Kiviranta at 5-on-5, along with a power play unit with Druin and Lehkonen. So like 3,300 for that. Like it does feel like there's a lot of options up and down this Colorado lineup. Wood and VC actually were question marks to play, and there's some rotation going on. So like definitely be careful dipping into values here. But I'll stop talking about the garbage because obviously McKinnon and friends are what matters here. Matt, what are your thoughts on the Colorado Avalanche against your beloved?
They got the back-to-back is about the only knock on them. And I know, but the Wild penalty kill, dealing with that top unit, I just hope Hartman doesn't get any more than 10 minutes this game because he's going to take like 3 penalties if he has to chase anyone of note, which is what I'm terrified about because I really don't want to play Colorado. Yeah. But they are walking into like a cupcake matchup. And then I think you covered most of anything I've mentioned. I think the only thing I would also note is Minnesota for years and still this year has been also a funnel for for defensive shots. So Makar is like an even better matchup than it looks like, especially at $8,000. That's like arguably I'd say it's even cheap for this kind of matchup. He's just going to walk up and do whatever he wants, and that's kind of what the Wild want to do, but they just don't stop it. So he's a little better. I would tie him to get a little more unique because he always is the one that slips in ownership versus the other studs. So,
Mike, when I tell you that in 3 games so far this year, Cale Makar has 10 DK points per game against Minnesota, I mean, obviously well below his season average. Does that do anything for you? Do the Minnesota Wild defensively hold the cards to stop Mr. Cale Makar? Or do you not really care about that sample size?
Don't really care about that sample size.
Okay. 1 assist, 8 shots, and 8 blocks, by the way, for those interested.
Maybe he's no good this year, but it's been pretty much a gold mine for the most part playing defender against Minnesota. I don't know. He's got the matchup, and if I don't know, it's gonna be Taves. Watch, that's my mortal enemy. Devon Taves is gonna score 3 times. He'll get a hat.
Josh Manson. Double.
No, don't play. You don't play the bad players in the funnels, but the good players in the funnels. That's always one that annoys me. Don't play. Yeah. I know you're joking, but don't play the bad defenders. Play the guys that shoot a lot already. So
anyway. I totally agree. And I wonder if there might be some scrambling for the power play. Again, is Nelson going to stay on that top unit if this game continues like it is? It might be something just to I guess can't really monitor it. I guess we'll just kind of see what happens the rest of the game. But on his side, he is coming. The other narrative piece I tend to see with the Minnesota stuff, and maybe Matt, you've seen this too, is these Minnesota guys coming back to playing in Minnesota always seem to have big games. I'm sure that's special for them. Probably just narrative. I'm cherry picking here a little bit, and it's not like he hasn't come to Minnesota with the Islanders, but if you want a little narrative piece, there you go.
Well,
was he War Road? Yeah, War Road, Minnesota. Oh, good old War Road. Yeah, go Brock, go. I don't know.
I have good news for you. In 1 game against Minnesota this year, Brock Nelson, a goal, an assist, 9 shots.
Lock it in. There it is.
So
I care about that.
Done.
yeah, we do care about that one for sure. All right. So on the Minnesota side, like we talked about before, they got nearly shut out by Tristan Jarry. They lost 3-1. I didn't screw with the lines. These were not the lines they had in that game, but I don't know what they're gonna do 5-on-5 wise. So whatever. I just didn't spend time trying to guess. I mean, it's hard to say I don't have interest in Minnesota because Matt Boldy rocks and that's about it. But Matt Boldy rocks, and I want to sort of take advantage of a tired team on an 11-game slate with a bunch of money to first place and kind of not much to 10th or whatever. But I don't really know what I would be looking for. Maybe it's a Hinostroza line, but again, Boldy, Rossi, Hinostroza, perfectly power play correlated. It didn't work last game, so I'm pretty hurt by that. Maybe they go back to it, and maybe I will try it again. But otherwise, we have options like Nyquist, Johansson, Freddie Gaudreau, Zuccarello, of course, in the fold here. And, of course, Ryan Hartman, who's, the definition of a donkey chucker, just sort of out there to do random stuff at random times. But, Matt, any interest in any Minnesota pieces here?
I mean, if you're going to do it, you're going to build around Boldy because he's oozing at the seams. He's going to blow up a Slater game soon. I don't know when, but I will take a shot that it could be against a back-to-back Colorado. And then what did Saul call him? Vinny Kucherov. I gotta line up Vinny Kucherov. I wonder to call it. That's funny. I mean, if you're gonna do it, he's got the price to do it, so you can do it. But I will not give up Vinny Kucherov here, saving the wild. Not quite yet, but his price and his role, like he gets some time, and he's decent to jam.
Yeah.
Then we got Bjorkstrand, so it's gonna make him really go overlooked. But then that's, again, depends on your lineup. Just think about what you're doing with your lineup. He could be an okay beast. He's not necessarily good, but I know I'm not gonna bait you too much there. Sorry, Vinny Kucherov, but there's something there. It's at least for ownership wise. I think you can think about it.
All right, Mike, anything to add?
Nope.
right.
Nothing else to add there.
Rangers at Jets. The Rangers scored 2 shorthanded goals in a matter of seconds against Columbus and still managed to lose 7-3. I mean, they are just one hell of a hockey team. The matchup looks great for Winnipeg, not so much for the Rangers, as one may suspect. I would be surprised if it weren't Connor Hellebuck in goal even. So, like, just not a ton on the Rangers that I can even point to say, yep, that's interesting. But just for completeness, Panarin, Trocheck, Lafreniere, Cooley, Zibanejad, Miller, Berard, Carrick, Kreider, and Othman, Johnny Brodzinski, and Matt Rempe is how they lined up last game. I'm all about Brennan Othman. I think he's going to be a stud, especially for fantasy. He's their first rounder from 2021. I can't say that putting him with Matt Rempe on the fourth line is doing absolutely anything for me. So, I fear that Lavi might be on his last legs on the Rangers. But hey, whenever you got a top pair of Urho Vakanainen and Braden Schneider, things are definitely looking up. I don't know. Nothing on the Rangers for me. Anyone see anything to be like, yep, that's interesting?
Not
Zach Jones
matchup. I mean, Trocheck is a bad finisher and has lots of expecteds, but doesn't he have a broken finger too?
He has a broken finger.
Don't fall for it. Yeah, I was gonna say don't fall for it. I fell for it. I felt stupid. So
yeah.
That's about
Zach
it.
Jones, though, I guess 3,100. He is on the power play 1 at the moment. So if that holds, I mean, we've seen so many 4K guys randomly there. Like Zach Jones at least has a fun profile as being an offensive guy. Like I don't know. You could do far worse than punting defenseman for power play 1 guy for sure. But Mike, I will either let you lead us into Winnipeg or talk about the Rangers if you have anything here.
I mean, I like Zach Jones. I'm not going to play him on this sit or anything. I just like him as a player. And Othman, the Rangers are doing the thing they do with all their young, first-round draft picks, is they just stick them on a bottom line and let them just kind of waddle around for a while. I think I did that line did bring some energy. I think it was the Ottawa game. Kind of fun watching them play a little bit. And I think the Rangers lead the league in 70 number jerseys on their team, and it's so hard to keep track of which one is which. And Othman is also one of those guys. So eventually, if and when he ever gets a bigger role, probably after Laviolette's gone, I will enjoy playing Othman, but not tomorrow.
That's going to bug me now because I feel like the Sabres are that to me with Peterka, Tage, and McLeod. So now it's going to bug me to be like, oh, well, actually, is it the Rangers? How many 70s do they have? Anyway, on the Winnipeg side, great matchup. Top line, fully correlated, 20.2 on DraftKings here. Obviously, Kyle Connor, star of the show. Second line, Perfetti, Nemestikov, and Nick Ehlers is 13.9K. Also fairly interesting. Josh Morrissey has been priced up, but maybe for good reason. I mean, this feels, if no one's clicking on Josh Morrissey, which doesn't seem like a great spot, he still is a pretty good player in a pretty good spot. Like, I would be interested in full stacking Winnipeg, I guess, like just a 3-man stack of either line plus Josh Morrissey. Seems like it just makes sense. I don't have much interest in chasing anything down low in the lineup, like Nino, 3,100. He might actually pop. I have no idea. With Bjorkstrand, again, probably not anything of note, but even if Niederreiter's like 8%, like, it feels like he could get there. But but he's just been non-existent as of late, though his numbers on the year look pretty good. But yeah, second and first line for me, Luke Shen should draw in on the third pair, and that's all I've got news-wise. Matt, how are we playing Winnipeg on Tuesday?
I mean, you got Winnipeg 1 at home with reasonable prices. I think they're going to get owned. The field's just going to smash them in. I think if you wanted to get cute, like Connor's driving the bus right now, but if I told you since the break, the second most shots belonged to spreadsheet warrior himself, Nikolai Ehlers, which is kind of fascinating. He's finally doing it this year after years of not doing anything. He's been really good on the power plays. 5 versus 5, I would probably blame his line mates more than him. But he's at least like, if you're going to play the top, probably just stick the top line together. But if you're going to cheat a piece, it's probably cheating old Gabe for Ehlers. Because if I think kind of how the power play works, if Gabe's knocking in the loose pucks around the net, it's going to correlate to his line mates a little more, and Ehlers is a little more separate. So it's like your only cute twist you could get on, I guess, to call it, like do a Scheifele, Connor, Ehlers stack, and then you'd probably bring Morrissey at that point. Don't have to. But that's about all I got. Like, he is shooting a lot. And so he's at least something to think about. 6,100 is not horrible for what he's been doing. It's probably about fair.
All right. Ben did the research for us. Sabres have 5 players in the 70s: JJ Tage McLeod, Jake Bryson, and Connor Clifton, of course. So beat that, Rangers. We'll see you after class. Mike, anything to add for Winnipeg?
Just counting up the Rangers ones right now. No, I think Matt's points were really good right there. I like the addition of Ehlers on that line. I wouldn't stack the second line myself. I just have minutes concerns usually when they're at home because they like to send the Lowry line out, and they sort of act as a third line in a lot of those cases, especially if they're going to be winning the game like we assume. That might cut down some of those minutes, but I could see Ehlers getting there with the rest of that group. So I like that idea of stacking them. And I like the Nino one-off, call as well. So
okay.
I think that's all.
Now we get to the 10 p.m. window. There are 4 games. I think all of them have some interest to them, and I'm not sure where the field's going to even come in on these 4 games. So we'll see. But I'm kind of excited by DraftKings leaving these 4 games on the slate, because we've seen them in the past cut off the late slate. But starting things off, we have Washington and Anaheim. Washington hitting the road, of course, and Anaheim's been fairly solid lately. Like, even before this run where apparently Sam Colangelo is actually the greatest player in NHL history, like, they've won, I think there's something of like 10 of their last 13 games or something. Like, just an unreal run of being decent. The matchups look okay for both sides of the game, but I think it's more player level stuff that interests me, because Ovi is Ovi. I mean, he's awesome. The rest of Washington has been priced up, so now you don't really need to worry about like, oh, well, if Ovi gets there, like, 4,800 Tom Wilson or 3,200 Pierre-Luc Dubois is gonna, gotta get there, right? Like, no, the entire team is priced up, so I feel like Ovi one-offs are entirely in order, and honestly probably preferred. So that's like my initial lean on the Washington side. Mike, do you see anything with this Washington team that stands out to you outside of Alex Ovechkin?
Well, it seems like mirror the conversation we had last time. I've been noticing McMichael's looked a lot better profile-wise. Looks like he's shooting more, getting some more high danger chances. But then you've seen almost a peel back for PLD and Wilson at that same exact time. So I think that with the rising price, I think that's all well said by you, where that sort of just points to that OV one-off. Or, I know Protas is profiling a lot better right now too. So, I wouldn't fault anybody for paying up for that Washington one stack, but I think that Ovechkin one-off point is a very good one.
All right, Matt, are the Sim Donkey Bros going to find their way to Washington? Like, is Ovi going to turn over at 22% against the Anaheim squad?
I kind of think they won't with these prices, because what was the total on this one? It wasn't that high. It was a 6, wasn't it? Did you
6,
see Mike by
yeah.
chance?
Yep.
Or is it 6.5 or 6?
6.
6, yeah. So it might keep them a little, like, then you're going to start playing games like you got the New Jerseys, the Columbuses that are going to have maybe a slightly lower total but better prices. we'll see. I don't. Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. But nothing you guys said is interesting. Only thing I'll note is like Wilson and Dubois are kind of. They're usually the reverse of what they're doing right now. Lots more expected. It's not as much actuals, but they're right now like they're actually doing all the things. So I kind of expect them to come in. And Connor McMichael has had one weird season. He started off like must play status for like first 20 games, fell off the earth. And I was like back into like what like, he's doing all the things again. So I don't know what to do about him, but he's showing there, but also kind of lean. He's overproducing a little bit. These guys are due to come in. And once we talk about Anaheim, I have some thoughts on Anaheim. I think Anaheim's a little tougher than they've been in the years past, especially at home. They're like randomly like 7-3 in the last home games. They're 7-2-1. They actually play well at home for some reason.
Yeah. Well, now the Anaheim Ducks. I mean, Sam Colangelo, DJ butchered his name, shat on the guy's entire heritage, and the dude became the first rookie since God knows when to score 5 goals in 4 games. So like, congrats to Sam Colangelo. He remains at 3,700. Like, this is not a fluke. Cutter, McTavish, and Colangelo are playing really well together at 5-on-5. Colangelo is straight up taking Gautier's power play job, which, like, you know, you watch the power play and they don't need Cutter to be a perimeter guy, I guess, sort of is where I'm coming in on it. So, like, you know, Cutter, I think he's been great, honestly, but it's just the role's not there for him for fantasy purposes. McTavish has been incredible. And I think something interesting is that they've made Vetrano, Strome, Terry, Killorn, Zellweger a power play unit. I kind of feel like they're putting Killorn out the pasture with that. Like, they're not making that their power play one, I don't think. It's going to be a split 1A, 1B anyway, but I would not be surprised if Zegers, Carlson, Lacombe, McTavish, Colangelo was first over the boards here somewhat soon. This fourth line in Anaheim is non-existent, and I'm simply not paying $17K for Anaheim 1 when there's McTavish and Colangelo, who are a combined 8,400, who have been uber productive. Everything on the ice looks sustainable. I'm really interested in these two guys, and maybe I just want to ride the wave, and the entire field's going to come with me. But like, I kind of feel like we've unearthed gold here with the kid line, or the Mac and C's, as the Ducks broadcast called it the other last night. Like, I'm all in on these guys. So I guess, well, did we already? I don't know, Mike. What do you think about my Anaheim thoughts?
I mean, the last question you had there was the one I was interested in. Is the field gonna get there? Because I think, and maybe this is just selective bias on this, but it feels like they've been weirdly chalky in some of these spots like this one. And I mean, I love the line too. I just wonder if it's going to get ownership. So either one place I go in this game.
My indicator for that, Sissima on yesterday's slate played Zellweger. And I believe he might have played Vetrano, or that could have just been the late slate. But I don't think the second and third lines are getting much attention. And maybe that changes. You know, again, Colangelo is scoring 5 goals in 4 games. Like, at some point it has to turn over. But I do feel like Vetrano is getting this false projection where it's just like, yeah, he's playing 21 minutes a night like it's last year all over again. And that's just not happening. You know, Ryan Strome kind of sucks. Troy Terry, whatever. Like, I just don't feel like that's the direction that this team is heading. And I feel like the field is just like, oh, Anaheim won. Like, they're the play in good matchups. So I would be surprised personally if it was the second unit of sorts that got any interest. But Matt, final thoughts on Anaheim?
Yeah, for price, it's McTavish. Like, he even went down in price, and he keeps like doing the same thing every slate. He's scoring a goal, shooting. Like he even went down. You got it right. I don't need to add anything to it. It's the Vetrano line will look good because they're going to be listed as power play one. Though I actually think you're right that didn't the McTavish one, didn't they actually they had more time on ice last game, so they might have jumped over the boards first for a couple of them. So I think you're seeing the flip there, and I think you're kind of right. Like, I'd focus there. If like Vetrano, Strome, Terry come in 5%, sure. I mean, Terry hasn't done anything for a while, but Vetrano's shown a little more signs of life since they swapped the units here around a little bit. But I think you're right. They'll get something. So it might just be poke around at something else. We'll see.
All right. Next up, we have Montreal heading into Vancouver. Outside of Montreal 1, I have absolutely no idea what this game's going to look like from a player standpoint. But all I can say is that this game, for the prices, feels like it has some potential. The Rainbow's not overly enthused by it, but it's not terrible. Then you'll get the actual output, and it's just dismal because Montreal's been pretty good defensively and not so good offensively, and Vancouver's just been bad as far as goaltending and scoring and whatnot at 5-on-5. So starting off with Montreal, this top line is going to run you 17,000 flat, Caulfield, Suzuki, Slavkovsky. We had new lines from practice on Monday, which make me think Patrick Laine will remain out. That's a big deal for Cole Caulfield. On the power play, Caulfield just gets so much more volume with no Laine. When Laine's on the ice with him on the power play, I think Caulfield's at about, I believe I ran it on Saturday, and it's something like 17% of the shot attempts because Laine's at 40. And then Caulfield overall is at like 29%. So it's like clearly day and night because you need to do some calculus, but you figure it out. Oh, Caulfield shoots at like, 35% of the attempts when Laine's not on the ice and 17% of the time when he is on for a power play. So the top line for Montreal seems the cleanest. I'll just read out the other lines, and if you guys have any interest in it, let me know. But Josh Waugh, Alex Newhook, Brendan Gallagher, Mike Pizzetta, Dvorak, Josh Anderson, and Emil Heineman, Jake Evans, and Joel Armia. I have Gallagher listed as being on the top power play. I don't know if that's actually updated or not, or if that's just where Laine was, because it would have been Armia last game, right? Let's see. Let me get that right for you. They lost 1-0 to Calgary. That's right. God, what a mess. Yeah, it was Armia their last game. So unless that happened in practice today, maybe just do a double check. But Matt, any interest in Montreal here? Did I sell you on Mr. Cole Caulfield at 6,400?
I mean, yeah, everything you said about Caulfield was, you beat me to it. So I'll just save everyone time. Like that's where you go with it. And I'll also admit, like, this is the game didn't have a line, so I totally just didn't prepare for this game. So just move on for my sake. Yeah. And I don't think I cared much about Vancouver's side of it when we get there. It's like, that's just a disaster. So
yeah, it's a 5.5 over under, just for the record, but I don't have any interest in Montreal, or I don't have anything to add on the Montreal side, and I don't have any interest on the Vancouver side.
All right. So on the Vancouver side, the lines are just, who knows, full mystery box. The power play units, I feel like, are also just a complete mystery. So more to come. I don't think anyone needs to hear it from me, but I like Phil Hedl. He's 5,100. He's been generating the most expected fantasy points. And believe it or not, 7.2 is actually one of the better actual fantasy point marks on the team. It's only bested by Philip Hronik at 7.7 and Connor Garland at 7.4. So it's been a factory of sadness for Vancouver. They're just not scoring. But EP40, Elias Pettersson, the original, shot a bunch the last time out. Don't know what that was all about, but I did actually notice him doing stuff and like skating with the puck and making the decision to shoot, which was a surprise. So I don't know if he'll get a line mate like Karamaki or anything like that, but if he does line up alongside someone other than Dakota Joshua, I'm interested. Dakota Joshua came back from, I think it was testicular cancer. Like, he came back from cancer, so like hard to shit on him too much, but he's been awful this year. Especially from a fantasy offensive standpoint. I can't profess to know too much about his defensive game this year, but he's just been an absolute zero offensively. So if he's saddled with, if EP40 is saddled with Dakota Joshua, like I don't think I can make enough excuses to get there. But yeah, I'm keeping an eye on Hedl and not much else here. Anyone want to add anything else, or can we get to Islanders Kings?
Nope.
Don't all jump at once to talk about the Canucks. All right. Islanders at LA. The matchup here. LA looks pretty solid. The Islanders got run over by the Sharks and the Ducks on back-to-back nights. They beat the Sharks, thankfully, for them, but it was in no part thanks to their play on the ice. The Sharks were dominant in that game. So LA is looking pretty decent as a result. And the Islanders don't look terrible themselves. But starting with the Islanders, on the road in Los Angeles, I don't think there's going to be a ton to talk about here. But if you need cheap power play one correlated lines, we have Palmieri, Horvat, Duclair at 14.4K. We have Holmstrom, Pajot, and Lee at 11.8K. And these are guys who, in general, are all pretty good and actually priced down a bit from where they've been recently. So maybe worth a double look there, given their super low price tag. We have Noah Dobson, who's back to doing stuff at 5,800. I could squint and see it, but I won't spend too much else talking about it. I mean, they played Adam Boakfist as their fourth line center yesterday, and I'm not making that up. He was literally playing fourth line center. So it seems like Patrick Waugh is out of ideas on how to infuse some offense to this club. But Matt, thoughts on the Islanders?
The only thing I got is I'm glad DraftKings lowered their prices because that's the only way you consider playing them. And so Horvat's been extremely unlucky, but Palmieri's kind of picked it up a little bit for him. He's kind of knocked in a couple of shots here. But those two have been leading them in shots since the break. Duclair is there. I'm not sure. I'm not sure something's wrong there or what. Still,
I'm annoyed.
Yeah,
he looks better. I don't know. I've watched a few of their games. He looks better. He had that one game where he scored and had 4 shots, and I'm like, I'm in. And it does feel like he's creating and whatnot. It's just he's not shooting. He's not finishing, obviously. So I don't know how long it'll last. I mean, he was a healthy scratch a few games ago, so I'm worried about in-game stuff with Duclair too.
I just go with like their prices. DraftKings marked their prices down for the matchup against the Kings, so they're in play for an ownership play. Like if they're going to come in low, we'll see. They are very low though, so maybe people just click on them by default. I don't know. This one, I don't think so, but yeah, that's all I got.
Damn, I missed a few good comments in here. So before we get to the Kings, I will just circle back to Sherlock here. Ducks third lines been hitting like crack in the 80s. There we go. Good one there. Mark, the Sim Donkey Pros will be windmill slamming Jerome Wilson, PLD Carlson, since they're all
true.
power play 1, 6K, and the classic fuck you OV leave off. I mean, that is what's winning here, isn't it? The 4-man no OV. GA doesn't want me to talk about EP40, and Ben correctly pointing out that I just said it's hard to talk about a guy coming back from cancer and then proceeded to talk about how bad he was. Yes, that did happen. I'm sorry, Dakota. I don't mean it. I do mean it. So anyway, the Kings. Mike, I'm teeing you up for Andrei Kuzmenko, Anze Kopitar, Adrian Kempe, the AK-47s. How you feeling about our new top line, top power play LA Kings here?
Well, I'm glad you didn't use the other potential nickname for that line. Let's start with that. But
I see it. All right.
Yeah, I mean, we just go Kuzmenko one-offs, right? Isn't that the game here? I bet. I mean, I know you asked about that line specifically, but I've been more of a sucker for that Byfield line specifically. I mean, I guess I haven't even really had a chance to see how that line has been with Kuzmenko there. Not the sample size is going to be good enough either way. But I think if I was going to play something on that line, it would just be probably Kempe one-off. We walk that back. The mine's not firing. You know, we're deep in this right now. And this, you probably want to. I'm guessing. I don't know where we're at now.
You're pissing out, Mike. I'll save you. Do you want me to save you?
You want to throw me a rap?
I'm going to save you.
Yeah, thank you.
This team is like a spread out disaster. Like a lot of people are doing things under the surface, but at their prices, are they I think you stack. I don't think you go one off anyone. You either stack or you don't stack if you're going to do it. I mean, because they got the matchup with the Islanders, and the Islanders are kind of like trash at this point. Is kind of my perspective. The more to know, Fogelline's been doing a ton of stuff, shooting, producing goals. So like if you're gonna do it, just stick them all together. It's kind of my thought. Like it's hard to pick a one off because no one looks great on a one off basis. Like no one stands out. They're all doing a little bit of things. It's hard to pick something. Is my takeaway. And I was always gonna say on the Kings. So
yeah. They didn't gift us a 2,500 Brant Clark. My 15 minutes last game hit like crack in the 80s, as a wonderful commenter just put it. He was just a ho-hum 85% expected goal share on the game. But guess what? They went up big and tried to nail it down with Drew Doughty. And guess what? Didn't work. That because Drew Doughty is not good anymore.
Did they watch a different Four Nations tournament? Like
everyone did. Everyone was like, "Oh, Drew Doughty looks great." No, Thomas Harley looks good. Thomas Harley. It's like Jesus Christ, people. Like put 2 and 2 together here. But no, they can't do it. The Kings can't do it. Rob Blake can't do it. No one can do it except you and me, apparently. I don't know. I'm also I don't think going to be able to get there, especially on LaFerriere, Byfield, Fiala. Like the price for not getting guys on the top power play really bums me out. I think LaFerriere's role could go to 0. I mean, there's a chance Warren Fogle gets power play time over LaFerriere at this point, given the way they've played Fogle as of late and the way that line's played. In all honesty, they've just been good. And I think I would go to Kuzmenko, Kopitar, Kempe, but like, yeah, 16K. There's a ton of options in that range. I prefer just staying cheaper with the Islanders, in all honesty, which, yeah, I guess I feel like an idiot, but it's where my head's at. So,
yeah,
free Brant Clark, please, somebody.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that they completely scramble up those power plays. So yeah, that does make a lot more sense now.
Yeah. All right. Final game, Nashville at San Jose. I mean, final game, the late hammer. Is this game going to be the, I hate using it not in Nashville, but the hee-haw hoedown got a ton of play in the MSP Discord from my offhand comment on Thursday, I think it was, that Seattle-Nashville game. It actually did come to pass as being a fucking cluster. Forsberg uber smashed. So that was cool. But Nashville, San Jose, both sides look awesome. The San Jose, the team has just been playing a lot more up-tempo as of late. Apparently Nashville has too, but it certainly jumps off the page watching San Jose games in particular. So this game, I'm really struggling with ownership. Like, is it going to be owned? Is the pricing plus weirdness enough to keep people away? I'm not sure. So let's get into it. Nashville, they went 11-7 last time out. So right away, the antenna goes up. Philip Forsberg is 8,800 playing alongside Sissons and Marchessault. Sissons did not get much time on ice at all last game. Evangelista O'Reilly Stamkos. Stamkos had a hat trick against Chicago, and with that gets up to 7,500. So the pricing feels really elevated, but Forsberg is in contention for best play on the slate, hands down. So Matt, what is your ownership sense looking like on the Nashville side?
I mean, the hee-haw hoedown is like accurate. Bad versus worse, donkey bowl, hee-haw. I wish I could. Hee-haw hoedown just wins. I can't. Why even touch it? Like, it's just gold. Like, that's for sure accurate. Forsberg. Thank God, DraftKings actually prices decently tight outside of all those defenders that I was mentioning. Like, at least they marked him up or priced him up. Is about all I got here. It's a good matchup. He's shooting a bunch. He's scoring. That's about it. Is it because Colton Sissons came back? Maybe, but I don't know. And Stamkos, right. I did not buy the Stamkos thing. Like, we've seen he's cooked and dead, and one hat trick isn't going to change my mind. Maybe it's a resurgence. Maybe Ryan O'Reilly's fixed him, but didn't they play together half the season and he was horrible? So
yes,
I don't know.
I have an entry. San Jose at their debut in the NHL played in the Cow Palace for many years. Maybe we call this game the Donkey Palace.
There you go. That's reasonable.
All right. Final note on Nashville: Nick Blankenberg was power play one last game over Brady Shea, who manned the second unit. So if you like 3,500 power play one guys, sure. Blankenberg just kind of sucks though for fantasy. You're gonna enjoy watching him. He's kind of a smaller dude, and he'll hit and jump around a bit. But I don't know. Kind of feels like even Jake McCabe blocks more shots, but watching him, he feels stylistically like a Jake McCabe, where it's like you can squint and kind of see it, but I don't know. Power play one against the Sharks, hard to argue. Nick Blankenberg. Mike, any Nashville thoughts before we get to San Jose?
No, I'm not playing Stamkos, so I'm not playing that line. I like Forsberg points, but yeah, it's going to be owned, so probably not.
Right.
I hope Blankenberg comes in at 10%. That's all I got to say. Please, dear God, damn it.
Yeah.
Just go wild. That's all I got for that one.
Let's see. The there's no way Askarov is even in the NHL yet. So maybe he is. I don't know. I need to check on that. Anyway, San Jose, Eklund, Wenberg, Toffoli, all on the power play 1. That full line will cost you $14K. Of course, Wenberg is pretty much a zero, but he's 3,400, so whatever. Will Smith, Celebrini, Klim Kostin was the line over the weekend and in practice today. So that line is 14.4K. Celebrini, of course, has been awesome. Will Smith is trending upward as well. Nothing else here generates too much interest. Obviously, the power play going through 5 forwards sort of hurts all of the other defensemen. But yeah, I feel like this one's pretty easy. It's just play 2 or 3 of the top power play guys and move on. But Mike, any other thoughts on the Sharks?
No, I agree with that last point. Just like a Celebrini, Toffoli, Smith. And I guess is Smith even power play 1? I can't remember. Yeah, he is.
Yes, he is.
I like that point. Do that.
All right. Who the hell is the other goalie for San Jose? Because are we going to get Askarov sooner than later? God damn it. I'm so annoyed.
I don't know.
Georgi Romanov. Georgi Romanov. Okay, whatever. So yeah, I think Askarov is just gonna play in the AHL for the rest of the year. So okay, Georgiev is 7K. Whatever. Who cares? I will move that so I stop saying it every podcast. Anyway, Matt, final thoughts on San Jose here.
If San Jose comes in chalky, which that top line price, figure in line 1, power play 1, oh my God, must project well, right? I would be a little concerned about that. Like if Wenberg gets anything more than like token ownership, please just don't do it. Like the dude is a thief of joy. He's horrible. He's gonna knock in 2 now that I said it. But I kind of a disappointed Toffoli split from Macklin, and also check. I thought I saw he was hurt.
He is a game time decision.
Okay. Okay.
But what I can offer there is they traded for some idiot from San Jose, and he's not cleared to play for immigration reasons, and he was on that line in practice today. So that is why I expect Toffoli to play.
Yeah. Okay. I would say, but Toffoli still has been like ever since the break. It's been all Macklin. Just shooting a bunch. Toffoli's been actually had a little bit of shot share jump back, but those two, I remember looking at always like their 5-5 splits. They're always just better together than separate, and they're now separate again. So it always gives me a little like I don't get too crazy with the Sharks. Maybe if they get ownership, don't get too crazy with them. But sure, yes, play Macklin, consider Toffoli, like things like that. No, I'm not gonna pretend they're not good plays, but that's about where I go.
Check your Will Smith projection if you're using projection sources, because I'm wondering how much of this recent run he's been on will be picked up. He was just awful to start the year, rookie translating to the NHL. He's not Macklin Celebrini, but he's a really, really good prospect. So I'm somewhat interested in him even at 5K. Just, make sure he's not being like completely under projected, I guess is where I come down on it. But your point stands, Matt, about the Toffoli pairing and whatnot being better for Celebrini. All right, let's get to Top Stacks guaranteed goals and to close out the show. Does anyone want to take first crack at Top Stacks?
I'll jump in. Last time I stacked a line that didn't end up becoming a line that night. So I'm going to go with the best option that could repeat that. And that would be Philadelphia, Tippett, Couturier, and
Okay. Looking to go 2 for 2 on the blender.
Yeah.
I'm still skimming. Sorry.
All right. Give me. Oh God, Matt, do you have it queued up? Give me Columbus.
Oh, I got one. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Adam Fantilli. I just build around Adam Fantilli and win, I think is the name of the game. So I'll go Fantilli, Marchenko, and Werenski. I might even play Kent Johnson on that, though, just save a little bit of money. But building around Fantilli will be a way I try to go in this spot. Targeting a New Jersey team that's all sorts of banged up. Columbus making their run toward the playoffs.
I support the Columbus because that was going to be my second one. I'm going to go back to my Florida 2 idea, though you're right, Boston's playing better, but I'm still sticking. Those prices are strong for what they've been doing. But if they come in like 15%, I take it back as a top stack. But if they come in anywhere a little under 10-ish, they're playable. That I'll go with my hedge on that one. But I'll call it a top stack, but be careful if it gets really chalky, then not as interesting. So Florida 2. Just go the full line. Why mess around?
Okay.
And then, do I need another one? Oh yeah.
Yeah. 2 stacks. Mike, you got one queued up?
Yeah, let's just go Winnipeg 1. And I would like to do the Ehlers sub in, but because I think I'm running against my price limit, we'll keep Dave there.
All right. Give me. I'm gonna click Forsberg and let's just go Marchessault and Blankenberg. Like Blankenberg kills penalties. He's on that top power play unit. I get it. I said it myself. He's not anything special. But if I'm playing Forsberg, like getting a 3,500 correlated piece feels like that'll be, if I play 5 Forsberg teams, it'll probably be 3 with, 2 without, or something like that. So Forsberg, Marchessault, Blankenberg.
Okay. I'm gonna go the what do you call them, the Mac and C's line or whatever. I'll go with that for my I do really like that line. Check the power play units if we get in the morning, because Cutter, you could leave him off. He's not actually playing on the power play. That's the only heads on that one I'd give.
All right. 6 great stacks, and we didn't touch Vegas. Kudos to us. Who wants to guarantee me a goal?
Oh, I was just doing that. I should have had this ready.
As a reminder, we try not to cover the stacks, but if we have to, we have to. I won't be too much of a stickler there.
It's 11,000.
Yep. We total 11,000 in DraftKings salary,
I
and
can't
DJ will be
this.
betting these, so don't bet bad ones, or else he'll yell at you, even though he bets bad ones all the time.
I'm gonna go Macklin for my first one. Then 6,800 is just too cheap. He's gonna score. Nashville's not that good. He's gonna score. He's gonna find one. So I'll start there. I'll work my way back.
I will do something very similar. Cole Caulfield, 6,400 against Vancouver. Again, no line A, shot funnel. I'm all about Cole Caulfield here.
All right, let's stay true to brand here. Let's go Timo Meier.
Ooh, Timo time.
I can't even find this price.
He's 67? 69. Yeah, he got priced up.
I'm glad they did that. That's not that bad.
Totally.
Now here's my problem: is who else am I going to play with it?
Yeah. The 4K range.
I can't use any of my stats. Okay, let's say because I got the Florida 2 guys are sitting right there, so I won't do that. Let me keep scrolling. Why is this so hard? You guys do it so quick.
This is a marquee slate, if I have to say so. It's not quite a Fantasy Hockey World Championship qualifier slate in that, but I'm gonna take Anze Kopitar. He scored 3 goals in his last 4 games. He's on that top power play, the net front. I'm gonna take Anze Kopitar as part of that line, because I personally don't want to one-off Adrian Kempe with Kuzmenko and Kopitar there. I feel like they're efficiency merchants, so let's get Kempe with his line mates if I play him, and therefore I will guarantee Anze Kopitar as my second guaranteed goal.
You had only speculation on the power. Did we know it was Nason or was it Mercer?
We are speculating.
Yeah.
So it was Mercer 2 games ago, and I had Nason on the sheet.
Okay,
but we didn't.
And I'll avoid that one. I'll go. You know what? I'll go. My boy. What's his name? His first name Jackson Blake. As I said, he looks due. He's playing next to Aho. Here, he's finally going to get a goal. There it is. He fits my salary. So I'll go for him.
Yeah, that's exactly who I was going to take. So now we're scrambling.
It is double guaranteed.
Oh, double guaranteed.
Double guaranteed.
Go like Colando or something.
Let's pick up your boy Duclair. Why not?
There you go.
Hey,
time.
All right. Once again, I got to say thank you to both of you for joining me. Best of luck on Tuesday evening, the big 200K top prize. I hope one of us takes it down. Well, I hope I take it down, but if not me, I hope it's one of you. And then if not one of you, I hope it's one of our listeners. We'll just go through the rest of the chat real quick before we say our final goodbyes. Brad, guaranteed goal. Donald Mitchell, absolute if he had scored, I think he already have been in the Discord posting his whatever live barn goal thing that gets posted. Sherlock is guaranteeing a Werenski goal. Book it. Marco, got to get the Minnesota Matt Wham stack to close
Dude, I
things
forgot
off.
my Wham stack. Okay, wait, keep going. You have more comments? There's a Wham
More
stack.
comments. Thank you, Ben, for tuning in. Hope you all enjoyed. Good stuff, fellas. Cheers. And Diego, Mac, 1000th. Thanks, boys. Does that mean
Did he
McKinnon
do
just
it?
got
No.
he
Boring.
did it?
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Yeah, so it seems like, Matt, you're setting something up here.
Oh, the Wham stack is clearly we're going to have Tanner Pearson listed line 1. And then at warm-ups it's going to be Barbashev. And these idiots aren't going to notice. They're just going to still play Tanner Pearson. He's going to score 2 fucking goals randomly as Eichel. It's a hat trick and they scored 7 on Pittsburgh. That's my call. That's the Wham stack. Don't anything Vegas around Eichel and Stone, random pieces. Yeah, that's the Wham stack of the night. Just garbage stacks everywhere.
I love it. Alrighty. Anything you guys want to plug before we go?
No, I'm good.
Great. All right. So you'll see them at the top of your DFS leaderboards. And you can find me on Twitter at Fake Moods. The podcast is at Point Escape Pod. And make sure you subscribe to my newsletter, moods.biv.com. And on Wednesday, there will be a slate recap. So hopefully this is not a sad version of the recap. But we'll see. We'll see how Tuesday shakes up. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for hanging out with us in the chat. And thank you to DJ for having a beer league game so I could talk to 2 of the sharpest minds in the fantasy space before the final big slate of the season. Best of luck to all of you out there. And thank you once again for listening. From Doug, from DJ, from myself. Well, actually, from Mike and from Matt too. Have a good slate, everybody. And we will see you.